Hello, and welcome to your next lesson. Today, we'll discuss grouping data within our pivot table. We'll use the geography tool covered in the previous lesson as our data source today. We will then group our data to get statistical information. I'm looking forward to sharing this information with you, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Please open the pivot worksheet and go to the grouping tab to follow along in this lesson. Okay, so here we are on our spreadsheet, and as you can see, I have the abbreviations for all 50 states. We will use the geography tool to extract information to help build our data source for our pivot table. So we plan to extract the population, the median income, the median rent, and the persons per household. So let's get started by going to our data tab. Next, let's go to the data type section. Now I want to place my mouse inside of cell B2 for Alabama. Now I want to go ahead and select the geography icon. Now as you can see, when I do this, the abbreviation for Alabama is replaced by the full name plus a detail card image, which we will use to extract our information. Let's go ahead and click the show card image. And now I want to scroll through and I want to select population. Let's go ahead and click the plus sign. Next, let's go back to the show detail card. And this time we're going to select median income. Let's go ahead and select it. Let's open our card and let's look for median rent. Okay, let's hit the plus sign. Again, let's go back to our show detail card, and this time we're looking for persons per household. And let's click the plus sign to go ahead and extract our information. Okay, so let's go ahead and assign show cards for all of our states. Let's select cell B3 through B51. And let's go ahead and select the geography tool. We now have a show card assigned to each one of our states. Next, we're going to simply do an autofill. Let's select cell C2 to F2. Let's get on our black cross mode. Let's simply double click to fill in our rows. Okay, so now that we have our data source built, let's go ahead and create our pivot table. Let's begin by selecting cell B1 and drag it all the way down and across until all of our data is covered. Now let's go ahead and say insert pivot table. Let's select existing worksheet because we're going to install it on the grouping spreadsheet. Let's select the arrow for location and let's place our mouse inside of cell I2. Let's get the drop down arrow again and let's go ahead and say OK. So our goal today is to group our states based on income. We'll use those groups to determine the average median income, the average median rent, and the average household size. Having said that, let's go ahead and get started. Let's select our pivot table and let's go ahead and select state, population, median income, median rent, and person per house. Now I want to make median income a primary row, so let's drag it above the state. Okay, next I would like to place this in the outline form, so let's go to our design tab. Let's select per layout and let's go ahead and say show in outline form. Okay, so now let's go ahead and group our information. Let's select the first row and select anything under $50,000. So this is already in numerical order. Once we have our selection, let's go ahead and right click and say group. Okay, now let's go up to the formula bar and let's type under 50,000. Next, let's continue on. Let's select 50,000 to 59,269. Let's do a right click and say group. Now we're going to name this group under 60,000. Okay, let's continue on. Let's select 6509 to 69,515. Let's go ahead and say group, and we're going to name this under 70,000. Let's select group 3, and let's go up to the formula bar and let's say under 70,000. Okay, and finally let's select the last 4. Let's do a right click and say group. Let's select the title, and we're going to say under 80,000. Okay, so let's go ahead and collapse our groups, and then we'll get the average statistics for each one of our categories. Let's begin by getting rid of the median income category because we no longer need this. Okay, we just go ahead and do a right click on the field and say remove field. Okay, now I want to go ahead and select median rent. Let's change sum to average. Let's select number format. Let's select currency, remove the decimal places and say OK. Then we'll say OK again. Okay, let's select sum of population. Let's say average. Let's select number format. And we'll just make this one a number because it's not a currency. Let's back the decimal places out and say OK. Alright, now let's go ahead and select sum of person per house. Double click it. Let's say average. Let's say number format so we can change this into a number. Then let's go ahead and say OK. Okay, so as you can see, once we have completed our exercise, we're left with the average rent, population, and person per house for each individual income group. Okay, I'm going to show you how to confirm your figures, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this lesson. Let's go ahead and select the Design tab. Let's go ahead and select subtotals and say show subtotals at the bottom of the group. So as you can see, my average for under 50,000 is $759 for the median rent. Now if I was to go ahead and select every figure in this group and look at my statistics at the bottom, you will see that it aligns with my under 50,000 median rent. The statistics will also reveal the minimum and the max for the individual group. Let's go ahead and confirm the under 70 group, and then we'll wrap up the lesson. Let's collapse under 50,000. Let's expand under 70,000. Let's go ahead and select the figures for this group, and we should come up with $1,068. And as you look at your statistics, you will see that that information aligns, and you'll also see the minimum and the max. So feel free to check the rest of your information. I'm going to go ahead and wrap the lesson up. I hope you found this information helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, so that wraps up this video. Job well done today. Be sure to save your work and then celebrate your accomplishments. Great job!